I know what you're thinking. Lego, I knew you had an ego, but this might be the most conceited, egotistical thing I've ever seen come out of a YouTuber's video. Are you kidding me? You're saying that this player, Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils, called you in particular out? Come on, man. Like, he is a professional athlete. He's making millions of dollars every year. He's got the media to deal with. He's got his hockey team to deal with. He's got the playoffs to deal with. He's not gonna go out there and talk about you, some regular old folk like us, sitting in his bedroom making YouTube videos in the same format he has done since he was 11 years old. True story, by the way. The videos haven't really changed since a decade ago, but I get it. It seems like absolute ludicrous insanity, just a bat crap crazy idea that a player in the NHL would acknowledge me in this kind of way. But I'll tell you what, there's a pretty reasonable explanation, in my opinion, and a reasonable train of thought that I think you could follow that makes the argument that says that Jack Hughes called me in particular out not impossible to believe. Yeah, okay, that sentence might have been kind of convoluted, but essentially I wanted to explain what happened here and why I think there's reason to believe this actually does have something to do with me. I wanted to go out there and prove it's not just me being egotistical and saying that my YouTube videos have such a big influence that NHL players themselves acknowledge that they exist. So the quote that I wanted to talk about Jack Hughes from yesterday's media availability, and by the way, he had a few really good quotes, like there was one in particular where he kind of called out Jesper Bratt, but that's a video for another day. This is what Jack Hughes said about his season. This was quoted by Amanda Stein. "I think I established myself as a really good player in the NHL. Maybe for the goal-scoring bit, I don't know if anyone expected me to ever score 40 goals in my career in a season, let alone 3 years after everyone was calling me the biggest bust ever. You know?" And that's a really particular quote. Hughes definitely doesn't go all vanilla whenever he answers these questions. There's a little bit of snarl whenever he says something that's sort of passive-aggressive like this. But when it comes to this idea, Jack Hughes saying, yeah, I don't think anybody expected me to score 40 goals in a season, especially 3 years after everyone was calling me the biggest bust ever. This sort of got a lot of people talking. Wait a minute, what are they talking about? Jack Hughes was called the biggest bust ever 3 years ago? 2020, people were talking about Hughes this way? What do you mean? And this is where I want to interject, because I feel like in a way, this sort of relates to a lot of the discourse that I myself kind of promoted out there on social media. If we go over onto the R Hockey subreddit and we look at the quote from Amanda Stein, it was posted on here, it was made in a post by NYJKNJD. What is that? New York Jets, New Jersey Devils. Is that correct? I'm not really too sure. Oh, Jets Knicks. That's what it should be, right? But either way, they posted the quote, and there's a reply over here in the comment section below asking who was calling him the biggest bust ever. Boston Nolan has our answer, and this is kind of why I wanted to make this video and relate it to some of the content that I produced. People kept comparing Jack Hughes' rookie season to other rookie seasons, and how he was statistically having one of the worst rookie seasons of all time. This led knuckleheads on every social media platform to go biggest bust ever, despite him being clearly undersized and uncomfortable at the time. And this sort of was the discourse that was thrown around there back in 2019-20 when Hughes did play his rookie year with the Devils. Not necessarily that he was having one of the worst rookie seasons of all time, but in particular that he was having one of the worst rookie first overall seasons in the past 2 decades. You know why I know that stat off the top of my head? Because I'm the guy who made the freaking video about that. Even in the subreddit, I made the post about that here too. Let's go back to 2020, 3 years ago, as Jack Hughes said, when the pandemic took over the world and the NHL stopped. I made a post on the R Hockey subreddit saying this: assuming the regular season has just ended, Jack Hughes has legitimately put up the worst first overall rookie season in over 20 years among skaters in terms of points, points per game, and points per 60. Attached is a graph of all the first overall picks from 1997 to 2019, and what each of these players accomplished in their NHL rookie seasons, with the majority of them playing their rookie seasons immediately after being drafted. The only cases where that wasn't the case was Eric Johnson in 06 because he went back to college, and Ovechkin in 04 because there was a lockout. If you sort by points per game, points, and points per 60, Jack Hughes had the worst first overall rookie season in 2 decades. And that was just it. I was just going out there and saying, hey, from a statistical standpoint, just from the numbers, Jack Hughes had a season that was inferior to all the other first overall rookie seasons from Dahlin, Hischier, Matthews, McDavid, Ekblad, McKinnon, Yakupov, Stamkos, Ovechkin, Crosby, Kovalchuk, all the way to Joe Thornton. Now, of course, Joe Thornton, Vinny LeCavalier, these guys were no bums at the NHL level. They were both fantastic players. But their rookie seasons were not great, and that was kind of the point that I was making when publishing these stats on Reddit. We also made multiple YouTube videos about this too. They both have over 20, I think one of them has 30,000 views, which for my channel back in 2020 was a pretty big deal. It was one of the top viewed videos on my channel. And of course, if you watch the videos, I present the numbers, I talk about how this literally is, just in terms of the points per game and points per 60, the worst first overall rookie year we've seen in 20 years. But I also say at the beginning of all those videos that it's okay. This is a good player. We know he's going to be good. We just gotta wait. Give it some time. New Jersey is not the bee's knees just yet. Jack Hughes is only 18 years old. He is undersized. He is uncomfortable. Playing in the National Hockey League, you could debate that he probably could have used a year in the NCAA. But who cares? Because the next season, Hughes went out there and showed off that he was incredible already, and he could dominate in the NHL with his speed, with his puck handling ability, with his playmaking, etc. And he bounced back. 31 points, 56 games played in that shortened year as a sophomore player. This season, guess what? 99 points, 78 games played. Had he played the full season, he would have had 100. And Jack Hughes right now, signed on to that $8 million AAV extension until the end of 2030, is looking like a stud. 22 years old, 100-point caliber player. Sign me up, man. That's a good hockey player right there. We knew he was going to be this good. I said it all the way back in 2019 before he was drafted. I said it in the midst of 2019-20 when he was going through that bad season that, hey, he is going to be a good player. Like, at the end of the day, if he gets himself multiple 80, 90, 100-point seasons in the NHL when his career is said and done, I wouldn't be surprised. He is just so capable at dominating the game with his speed, his footwork, his awareness, his analysis of what he needs to do. Jack Hughes is a superstar player in the making, and even though he had this first overall rookie season that was statistically the worst we had seen in 20 years, I was still a believer in him. But unfortunately, because those videos that I made and the Reddit posts that I made got traction, I did start to see quite a bit of conversations going around just throwing that label out there. Oh, worst first overall rookie player in 20 years. Oh, he's a bad player, whatever. Sure, there might have been a few people in there calling him a bust and saying that, oh, because he was the worst first overall player in 20 years, you could say that he's a bust. But at the end of the day, that's not really the idea that I wanted to throw out there. It was just kind of, hey, look at the numbers, see how they compare to other guys. And for Jack Hughes to go out there and say this in the media, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, the tongue-in-cheekness in this comment, I don't know if anyone expected me to score 40 goals in a season in my career, let alone 3 years after everyone was calling me the biggest bust ever, Like, do you kind of get where I'm coming from now? Do you think it makes sense for me to assume that Jack Hughes is literally referring to me, or at least the idea that I helped promote 3 years ago? It was really not a thing that I saw anybody talking about, especially since I was the guy that made the graphic, Like, after I made the videos, multiple videos, and the Reddit post, that's sort of when I started to see that tagline rotating around in different online discussion forums that, hey, Jack Hughes had the worst first overall rookie season in 20 years, the worst first overall rookie season in 20 years. Out of all the rookies that were first overall in the past 2 decades, Jack Hughes was the worst amongst all of them. And I really feel like it was sort of me and my videos that got the ball rolling on that idea. So, for some people to take it out of hand and say that he was a bust, and for Jack Hughes himself to directly address that 3 years later when he's a 100-point guy and say, in your face, I absolutely love that. First, it shows off that the guy actually is active on social media. He knows what people are saying about him, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at the same time, the fact that he's willing to acknowledge it and directly go out there and contradict it, that's badass. Of course, for me personally, no hard feelings whatsoever. Like, NHL players are free to go out there and talk smack about anybody who is making content about them because, we're criticizing their jobs. They have the right to go out there and talk smack about us back, right? It kind of goes both ways. But either way, if you think that I actually have a point here, that maybe Jack Hughes was inadvertently calling me out, then hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think I'm full of baloney and I'm just being egotistical here, you think that it really has no bearing to what I did and the content that I made 3 years ago, then you can let me know your comments in the comment section as well about that. But I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 9, and bye.